Picture a planet where the sky shimmers with emerald streaks, quaking under a war that stretches across the stars. You're Marcus Kane, a human spy with a past that haunts you and a secret that could stop the fighting or set everything ablaze. But what happens when the enemy you've tracked, a Zentari warrior with golden eyes that cut through shadows and a body alive with alien energy, becomes your only chance to make it out alive? This isn't just a fight for survival in the emptiness of space. It's a story of forbidden tension, buried secrets, and a battle to shift the destiny of two clashing species. Will Marcus and this mysterious Centauri turn the tide of war, or will they ignite a spark that consumes them both? Hang on, listeners, because this tale's about to pull you in deep, and trust me, you won't see the twist coming. Ready to dive into a world where enemies might just become something more? Let's get started. In a future shaped by humanity's reach beyond Earth, colonies the stars like fragile outposts on uncharted frontiers. But peace is a distant memory. For over 3 decades, humans have waged war against the Zentari, an alien species as formidable as they are mysterious, locked in a struggle that paints the galaxy with ruin. The heart of this conflict is Arion, a rare, crystalline energy source, pulsing with power, able to propel starships across vast distances or unleash destruction in a single burst. Buried in the crust of border worlds, Arion drives the bloodshed, mined from desolate rock and claimed through relentless battles. Fleets shatter in the void, planets scar under fire, and the losses pile up, an endless toll that neither side can escape. Victory remains elusive, yet surrender is unthinkable, and the war grinds on, fueled by desperation and distrust. Beneath this chaos, a deeper shadow looms, a hidden truth waiting to fracture the fragile stalemate. On Zirion 7, a barren world at the edge of contested space, that truth begins to stir. Zirion 7 is a brutal landscape, its surface etched with crimson canyons and shrouded in dust, its atmosphere a toxic veil that chokes the unwary. Arion veins thread through its depths, the only lure for those who brave its dangers. But there's more to this place than crystals. Rising from its jagged terrain is Obsidian Echo, a Zentari research station, its dark, sleek walls a testament to alien ingenuity. Within, the air vibrates with energy waves, a technology born from the Zentari's unique fusion of biology and science, a power humanity struggles to comprehend. The Zentari stand apart from humans. Their bodies channel energy, their indigo skin shimmering with patterns that shift with their emotions, soft blues in calm, fiery reds in fury. Golden eyes pierce the dark, seeing vibrations and fields beyond human sight, while telepathic bonds tie their minds in ways few can fathom. Once guided by traditions of harmony, their culture now bends under the weight of war, ruled by the Zentari Dominion, a council that demands obedience and drives their warriors forward with unyielding resolve. To them, humans are reckless, greedy, a species that threatens the galaxy's order, a foe to be crushed without mercy. Yet, beneath the Dominion's grip, faint whispers of dissent echo. Some Zentari long for an end to the conflict, a return to the peace of their past, though such thoughts are treason, stamped out by force. Across the divide, the United Terran Alliance mirrors this ferocity, forging colonies into war machines and citizens into soldiers. Propaganda casts the Zentari as nightmares, glowing eyes and energy-wrought hands twisted into symbols of fear. But the human effort strains at its seams. Supplies thin, spirits waver, and rebellion simmers as the dream of triumph fades. In this faltering war, the Alliance turns to its shadow operatives, spies and saboteurs who move unseen, sustaining the fight with quiet, lethal precision. Zirion 7 is where these forces collide. Obsidian Echo stands as a fortress of Zentari secrets, its purpose cloaked in rumor. Human intelligence points to a weapon, a device to end the war in one devastating strike. But the reality is murkier, woven with threads of deception neither side fully grasps. Marcus Kane, a seasoned operative of the Alliance, steps into this web. His mission: infiltrate the station, seize the technology, destroy it all. As he nears the target, the air thickens with an unspoken tension, the station's energy fields flickering in strange, erratic pulses. Something beyond the war is at work, a force simmering beneath the surface, ready to erupt. On this scarred world, amid the clash of species and the hum of machinery, a reckoning looms, one that will test survival, loyalty, and the thin divide between enemy and ally. Marcus enters this storm, blind to the collision awaiting him, a meeting that will reshape the path of everything he knows. A shadow moves through the cramped cockpit of a stealth shuttle, its hull cloaked in silence as it cuts through the toxic haze of Zirian 7. This is Marcus Kane, a man sculpted by war, his hands steady on the controls, his eyes fixed on the jagged horizon ahead. At 34, Marcus carries the weight of a decade in the United Terran Alliance's shadow ranks: spy, saboteur, survivor. His frame is lean but solid, honed by years of dodging death, clad now in a matte black stealth suit that hums faintly with tech designed to keep him unseen. Dark hair clings to his sweat-damp brow, and his gray eyes, sharp and unyielding, scan the shuttle's readouts with a focus that borders on obsession. A faint scar runs jagged across his jaw, a memento of a mission gone wrong, a reminder of the cost he's paid to still be breathing. Marcus wasn't always this man. Once he was a mechanic's son on a dusty colony world, dreaming of stars beyond the endless fields of scrap. That boy died 12 years ago when a Zentari raid turned his home to ash, his family to ghosts. The Alliance found him in the wreckage, 16 and half dead, and forged him into a weapon, precise, ruthless, expendable. They trained him to infiltrate, to kill, to unravel secrets no one else could touch. And he excelled, climbing the ranks of their covert operatives until his name became a whisper among the brass. But excellence came at a price. Each mission chipped away at him, left him colder, harder, a man who sleeps with a pistol under his pillow and trusts no one, not even himself. The war took everything, and Marcus gave it back in blood, mission after mission, until the lines blurred between duty and survival. Now, Zirian 7 looms before him, a mission unlike any other. The orders came straight from Alliance Command. Infiltrate Obsidian Echo, steal the Zentari's weapon tech, plant antimatter charges, and erase the station from existence. Simple, clean, deadly, just the way he likes it. The shuttle's cloaking systems hum at their peak, masking his approach from the station's energy sensors. But Marcus knows the risks. One glitch, one stray signal, and he's a target in a war zone with no backup. His pack sits heavy beside him, loaded with charges potent enough to level the station, a failsafe if stealth fails. He runs a hand over the controls, double-checking the landing coordinates, his mind ticking through every variable. Failure isn't an option, not because of loyalty, but because he's got nothing left to lose. Yet, beneath the steel of his resolve, cracks linger. Marcus doesn't admit it, not out loud, not even in the quiet of his own head, but the war weighs on him. He's seen too many worlds burn, too many lives snuffed out, human and Zentari alike. The propaganda calls the Zentari monsters, but Marcus has stared into their glowing eyes across battlefields and seen something else. Rage, yes, but also purpose, a mirror to his own. Lately, the orders feel hollow, the victories empty, and a question gnaws at him, buried deep. What's the point? He shoves it down, locks it away, but it lingers like a splinter under his skin, festering with every kill, every lie. This mission, he tells himself, is just another job. Get in, get out, keep moving. But Zirian 7 feels different, the air heavier, the stakes sharper, as if something waits beyond the data and the charges. The shuttle dips lower, skimming crimson canyons, the station's dark silhouette rising against the horizon. Marcus's HUD flickers, feeding him intel. Energy signatures stable, no alerts yet. He adjusts his grip, steadying his breath, the familiar rush of adrenaline threading through his veins. This is where he thrives, in the razor's edge between control and chaos, where one wrong step ends it all. Obsidian Echo is a fortress, a Zentari stronghold bristling with secrets, and Marcus is the blade sent to cut it open. But as the shuttle nears its landing zone, a faint tremor ripples through the controls, a spike in the station's energy readings that shouldn't be there. His jaw tightens, gray eyes narrowing. Something's off, something big. He lands in the shadow of a canyon wall, cloaking intact, and steps out into the dust, pistol in hand, the weight of the unknown pressing harder than the charges on his back. Marcus Kane is here to finish a job, but the galaxy has other plans. Deep within the heart of Obsidian Echo, a figure moves through the shadows of the Zentari research station, her presence as enigmatic as the alien technology that surrounds her. This is Lyra Vane, a name that carries both reverence and suspicion among her kind. Lyra is no ordinary Zentari. She is a luminary of their scientific caste, a mind so brilliant that even the Dominion's iron-fisted council cannot ignore her. But brilliance is a double-edged sword in a society that demands absolute loyalty, and Lyra's mission on Zirian 7 is cloaked in secrecy, known only to her and a handful of trusted confidants. It is a mission that could either save her people or brand her a traitor for eternity. Before a glowing console in the station's core lab, Lyra stands, her slender fingers dancing over holographic interfaces that pulse with Zentari energy waves. Her appearance is a study in contrasts, beautiful, yet utterly alien. Her skin is a deep, iridescent indigo, shimmering with patterns of light that ripple across her body like liquid starfire. These luminescent markings are not mere decoration. They're the outward manifestation of her emotions, her energy, her very life force. Right now, they glow a soft, aquamarine blue, calm, controlled. But when anger or passion surges within her, they blaze with fiery oranges and reds, betraying her feelings in a way no human could ever hide. Her eyes are molten gold, sharp and piercing, capable of seeing beyond the visible spectrum into the energy fields that permeate the universe. And her body radiates a heat that is almost tangible, a byproduct of the Zentari's unique biology, which channels energy through every cell, making them both powerful and vulnerable. Lyra's role at Obsidian Echo is to lead the development of Project Nexus, a program officially tasked with creating a weapon that could obliterate human fleets in a single strike. The Dominion believes she is their loyal servant, pouring her genius into their war machine. But the truth is far more dangerous. Project Nexus is not what it seems. Beneath its veneer of destruction, Lyra has been secretly working to develop a countermeasure, a technology that could neutralize the weapons of both humans and Zentari, forcing an end to the war. She dreams of a future where her people can reclaim their ancient traditions of harmony, where their children need not die in the void, where the energy waves that define their culture are used for creation, not annihilation. Such dreams are treason in the eyes of the Dominion, and Lyra knows it. Every day, she walks a razor's edge, hiding her true intentions behind a mask of loyalty, knowing that discovery would mean execution or worse. Her isolation is profound. Her colleagues at the station, loyal to the Dominion, watch her with suspicion, whispering that her brilliance is tainted by dangerous ideas. Her only solace is the work itself, the hum of the energy reactors, the dance of holographic data, the faint hope that she might succeed. But even that solace is fragile. Just days ago, she intercepted a coded transmission, a fragment of intelligence that hinted at a conspiracy far larger than the war itself. A shadowy alliance manipulating both humans and Zentari for reasons unknown. The transmission was incomplete, but it was enough to set her on edge, to make her question everything she thought she knew. Now, as she stands in the lab, her golden eyes scanning the data streams, a chill grips her that has nothing to do with the frigid air of Zirian 7. The energy fields around her buzz with a tension she cannot explain, a sense of impending doom that tightens her chest. Something is coming, something catastrophic, and Lyra Vane, brilliant, defiant Lyra, is about to find herself at the center of it all, her fate hanging by a thread as thin as the energy wave she commands. Inside the human stealth shuttle slicing through Zirion 7's toxic skies, Marcus Kane is a man on the edge. His heart hammers, his hands grip the controls so tight his knuckles are white beneath his gloves. The shuttle's cloaking systems scream, push to their limits to keep him invisible to the Zentari's energy sensors. But Marcus knows one slip-up, one tiny glitch, and he's a dead man. His mission is simple on paper, deadly in practice. Infiltrate Obsidian Echo, steal the Zentari's weapon tech, plant antimatter charges, and get out before the whole place goes up in flames. But as the shuttle touches down in a shadowed canyon, a warning klaxon blares, loud and shrill, shattering the silence. Marcus's HUD lights up. Energy spikes, structural failures, chaos. The station is under attack, but by who? Not humans. The fleet is light years away. Not Centauri. They don't bomb their own bases. This is something else, something bad, and Marcus's gut tells him to run, but his training screams to push forward. He's come too far to turn back now. Helmet on, weapons hot. He steps out into the crimson wasteland, the weight of his mission like a noose around his neck. Meanwhile, inside Obsidian Echo, Lyra's world explodes literally. The station's alarms scream to life, a deafening wail that drowns out the hum of the reactors. Holographic displays flash red, screaming imminent breach. Lyra's golden eyes narrow, her fingers flying over the controls, pulling up security feeds. What she sees stops her cold. A squadron of sleek, black ships, unmarked, tearing through the station's defenses like they're paper. Not human, not Zentari. Something else, something unknown, and their weapons are precise, deadly, carving through the obsidian walls with horrifying ease. Explosions rock the outer hull, sending shockwaves through the station, and Lyra knows she has minutes, maybe seconds, before it's all over. Her mind races. Project Nexus, her countermeasure, the data crystal. It's all she has left, the only hope for peace. She grabs the crystal, uploads the critical files, and bolts from the lab, her luminescent markings flaring crimson with urgency. Her wound from a collapsing beam, sending silver blood dripping down her side. Pain screams through her, but she pushes it down. She must survive, must protect the data, no matter the cost. Marcus slips through a breached airlock, his stealth suit blending into the shadows, moving deeper into the station like a ghost. The corridors are hell. Smoke, fire, Zentari soldiers dead or dying, their bodies glowing faintly even in death. His mission is in tatters, but he's not done yet. He needs the core lab, needs the data, needs to finish this. But as he rounds a corner, he freezes, his breath catching in his throat. There, amidst the wreckage, is a vision, a Zentari female, her indigo skin glowing with patterns of light, her golden eyes blazing with fire, even as silver blood leaks from a gash in her side. She's clutching a data crystal in one hand, a sleek energy weapon in the other, and she's staring right at him. This is Lyra Vane, and she's not going down without a fight. Lyra sees him, her energy senses picking up the hum of his stealth suit. And to her, he's the enemy, a human infiltrator here to destroy everything she's worked for. Her weapon snaps up, its barrel glowing with lethal energy, but pain and blood loss slow her, her vision swimming. Marcus, on the other hand, sees an opportunity, a high-ranking Zentari, wounded, vulnerable, carrying something valuable. His mission says kill her, take the data, finish the job. But something stops him. Maybe it's the fire in her eyes, the defiance that mirrors his own. Maybe it's the chaos around them, the realization that this attack isn't part of the war he knows. Or maybe, just maybe, it's a flicker of humanity buried deep inside, a refusal to kill in cold blood. Instead of firing, he lowers his weapon, his voice steady through his helmet's translator. "I'm not here for you," he says, the words sharp, urgent. But if we don't move, we're both dead. Lyra hesitates, her instincts screaming to fight, to kill this human before he kills her. But the station shakes again, a massive explosion tearing through the upper levels, and she knows he's right. Whoever is attacking, they want no survivors, and she cannot protect her data if she's dead. With a grimace of pain, she lowers her weapon, her voice sharp, melodic, cutting through the chaos. "Help me, human, or we both burn." Marcus nods, holstering his pistol and moving to her side. He sees the gash, the silver blood, and pulls a medical device from his pack, a universal stabilizer designed to work on most species. As he presses it to her wound, he feels a jolt, a surge of heat from her body that sends his pulse racing, an alien energy that's foreign, intoxicating, forbidden. Lyra gasps, her markings flaring briefly with orange light. Pain, yes, but something else, something unspoken, something dangerous. The moment is cut short as another explosion rocks the station, and Marcus grabs her arm, pulling her toward an escape route. "Move!" he barks, and together, they plunge into the chaos, two enemies bound by a fragile thread of survival, unaware that their fates are now locked together. Just as they reach the airlock, a black ship lands outside, its hatch opening to reveal a figure in unmarked armor, neither human nor Centauri, holding a weapon that hums with dark energy. The data crystal in Lyra's hand begins to glow, pulsing as if reacting to their presence, and a cold realization grips them both. This attack is no accident, and the secrets they carry are more dangerous than either of them imagined. The corridors of Obsidian Echo choke with smoke, the air sharp with the tang of scorched metal and the fading glow of fallen Centauri soldiers. Marcus hauls Lyra forward, his hand clamped around her arm, her silver blood staining his glove as they weave through the wreckage. The station shudders, walls cracking under the barrage of unseen attackers, each explosion a hammer blow threatening to bury them alive. Lyra falters, her breath jagged, the wound in her side throbbing with every step, but her golden eyes shine with a fierce determination that mirrors his own. They need an exit, a slim chance to escape this collapsing maze, and Marcus catches sight of it, a flickering sign for an auxiliary hangar bay, half hidden in the swirling haze. He tugs her toward it, his mind a blur of instinct and calculation. The antimatter charges in his pack, a heavy reminder of a mission now slipping through his fingers. Lyra's senses sharpen, picking up the faint pulse of machinery ahead and the closing whine of enemy weapons. She pulls free from Marcus, her voice slicing through the din, clear and urgent. Left now. She darts down a narrow passage, debris crunching underfoot, her luminescent markings flaring crimson as her pulse races. Marcus follows, trusting her lead over his own bearings, a choice that feels impulsive yet certain. The passage spills into the hangar bay, a vast space dominated by a battered Centauri shuttle, its hull dented but whole. It's their way out, if they can make it. Black armored figures swarm in from the far side, their weapons crackling with dark energy, cutting a path through the chaos. Marcus dives behind a stack of crates, dragging Lyra down beside him, her warmth pressing against his side, a sudden spark that quickens his breath. Time runs thin. Marcus scans the bay, eyes locking on a control panel across the open stretch, exposed but within reach. "Can you fly it?" he asks, voice low, nodding at the shuttle. Lyra's gaze hardens, her response steady despite the pain. "Better than you'd manage, human." A flicker of a smirk crosses her face, bold and fleeting, catching him off guard. He nods, plan set. "Keep them off me." She shifts, her energy weapon humming as she channels her strength, its barrel glowing faintly. Marcus breaks cover, sprinting across the gap, shots sparking off the floor around him. Lyra fires, her blast sharp and true, scattering the attackers in bursts of light, carving him a path. He slams into the panel, hands moving fast, cracking the lock with a human override code. The shuttle's hatch slides open, a narrow promise amid the storm. Lyra rises, her weapon flashing as she advances, her markings blazing brighter. A stray shot clips her arm, silver blood spraying, and she stumbles, a sharp hiss escaping her lips. Marcus is there in a heartbeat, catching her, his arms circling her waist, pulling her toward the shuttle. Her heat floods through him, her ragged breath close, a raw tension threading between them. He pushes her into the co-pilot's seat, sealing the hatch with a swift command, then grips the controls. The shuttle lurches awake, engines roaring as he throws it into motion. Enemy ships swarm outside, their fire streaking past, but Marcus twists the craft through the hangar's crumbling frame, debris crashing in their wake. Lyra braces against the console, her energy senses guiding his turns, a silent rhythm binding them in the chaos. The shuttle breaks free, clawing in Azirian 7's toxic sky, chased by gunfire and the weight of a ruined station. Marcus steals a glance at Lyra, her golden eyes meeting his through the visor, a fragile trust born in the fire. Behind them, Obsidian Echo collapses into dust and flame, but the data crystal in Lyra's grip pulses stronger, a glowing enigma tying their fates together as they vanish into the storm. So there it is, Marcus and Lyra, blasted out of danger, a human and a Zentari bound by a desperate escape and a glowing secret. What's waiting for them out there? Will they crack the mystery of that attack, or get crushed by the forces on their tail? You won't want to miss what's coming, listeners. If this tale of survival and uneasy alliances has you hooked, smash that subscribe button and hit the bell. I'm Alien Whispers, and I'll be back with the next twist. Things are just getting started, and trust me, it's going to be wild. Stick with me for the ride. The Zentari shuttle streaks through Zirian 7's toxic sky, its engines screaming as Marcus wrestles the controls, weaving between jagged peaks that claw at the hull. Behind them, black ships swarm like hornets, their dark energy weapons spitting streaks of violet fire that sear the air. Lyra braces against the co-pilot's console, her golden eyes darting between the flickering readouts and the chaos outside, her luminescent markings pulsing crimson with every near miss. The shuttle shudders, a glancing hit scorching its flank, and Marcus grits his teeth, banking hard to avoid a canyon wall. "Hold on," he mutters, voice tight, his hands a blur as he pushes the craft beyond its limits. Lyra doesn't respond, her focus locked on the data crystal clutched in her hand, its glow intensifying, a beacon in the storm. The pursuit is relentless. Marcus spots a narrow ravine ahead, its walls tight enough to scrape the shuttle's sides, but it's their only shot. He dives in, the craft tilting sharply, metal groaning as it brushes rock. The black ships hesitate, their larger frames too bulky to follow, and for a moment, the gunfire fades. Lyra exhales a sharp, ragged sound, her wounded arm trembling as she adjusts the shuttle sensors. "They're circling," she says, her voice steady despite the pain. Looking for another angle. Marcus nods, his gray eyes scanning the ravine's twists, searching for an exit. The shuttle's cloaking is fried, its hull battered, but it's still moving, barely. They need distance, time, a place to breathe, and Marcus knows it's a long shot on a planet like this. The ravine opens into a shallow basin, its floor littered with the husks of abandoned mining rigs, relics of a war that stripped Zirian 7 bare. Marcus sets the shuttle down hard, dust billowing around them, and kills the engines, plunging the cockpit into a tense silence. Lyra shifts, wincing as she presses a hand to her side, silver blood seeping through her fingers. Marcus pulls the medical kit from his pack, his movements quick, efficient, but his gaze lingers on her, her heat, her glow, the alien strength that defies her injuries. He hands her a stabilizer patch, their fingers brushing, a jolt of warmth that tightens his chest. "You're losing too much," he says, voice low. She takes it, applying it with a grimace, her markings flaring briefly orange, a flicker of something unspoken, before settling back to a dim blue. They can't stay here. The black ships will find them, and the shuttle's too damaged to outrun another chase. Marcus checks his HUD, Alliance signals are faint, scrambled by the planet's interference, and Zentari channels are a chaotic mess of distress calls from Obsidian Echo survivors. Lyra watches him, her golden eyes narrowing, suspicion threading through her exhaustion. "Who are you, human?" she asks, her tone sharp, cutting through the quiet. "You're no scavenger." That override code, too precise, too fast. Marcus freezes, his hand hovering over the controls, the weight of her words sinking in. He could lie, deflect, but something in her stare, piercing, unrelenting, pulls the truth loose. "I'm Alliance," he says, voice flat, meeting her gaze. "Covert ops. Sent to take your tech and blow that station to dust." Lyra's weapon snaps up, its barrel glowing, aimed at his chest, her markings blazing crimson again. "Then why save me?" she demands, her voice ablade. Marcus doesn't flinch, his hand steady, open. "Because that attack wasn't us. Or you. Something else is playing this game. And I don't like being a pawn." Her eyes search his, weighing his words, the tension thick enough to choke on. Slowly, she lowers the weapon, her breath steadying, though distrust lingers in her posture. "You're not the only one with secrets," she says, her voice softer now, edged with something raw. "I'm Zentari intelligence. Project Nexus wasn't a weapon. It was a shield, a way to end this war without more blood." The air shifts, heavy with revelation. Marcus leans back, processing, his mind racing through the implications. A human spy and a Zentari agent, both sent to deceive, now bound by a shared enemy. "Then who hit the station?" he asks, his tone hard. Lyra holds up the data crystal, its glow pulsing faintly. "This might tell us." I pulled fragments of a transmission. Encrypted, incomplete. Something about a consortium, a third player. Marcus nods, his jaw tightening. "We need to crack it. But not here." He powers up the shuttle's auxiliary systems, scanning for a signal. Anything to get them off this rock. The readouts flicker, then lock onto a faint distress beacon, miles north, buried in a mining outpost. They move, the shuttle limping through the dust, black ships still prowling the horizon. The outpost emerges from the haze, a crumbling dome, its walls pitted from years of neglect, but its comms array glints intact. Marcus lands near a breached entrance, the shuttle grinding to a halt, and they step out, weapons drawn. Inside, the air is stale, the silence broken only by the hum of a dying generator. Lyra plugs the crystal into a console, her fingers deft despite her wounds, pulling up fractured data streams. Marcus stands guard, pistol ready, his senses sharp as shadows shift beyond the dome's cracked windows. The console beeps, a partial decryption flashing across the screen, coordinates a name, Consortium Helix. Lyra's eyes widen, a chill running through her. "This isn't just a raid," she mutters. "They're testing something, us, the war, all of it." Before Marcus can respond, the dome shakes, a low rumble building from below. Dust cascades from the ceiling as the floor splits, a mining drone, repurposed, weaponized, erupting from the ground, its drills spinning, its sensors glowing red. Marcus fires, shots ricocheting off its armor, while Lyra unleashes an energy blast, her markings flaring as she channels her strength. The drone lurches, slamming a drill toward Marcus, missing by inches as he rolls aside. Lyra dives for the console, yanking the crystal free, her voice urgent. "It's a trap. They knew we'd come here." Marcus grabs her arm, pulling her back as the drone advances, its bulk blocking their path to the shuttle. Outside, the black ships close in, their shadows darkening the sky, a noose tightening around them. Marcus spots a maintenance hatch, half buried in rubble, and drags Lyra toward it, kicking it open. They drop into a tunnel, the drone's roar echoing above as it tears through the dome. The passage is tight, damp, lined with rusted pipes, but it's a lifeline. Lyra's glow lights their way, her breath shallow, her energy waning. Marcus keeps her moving, his arms steady around her, their steps synchronized in the dark. The tunnel twists north, toward the unknown. The data crystals pulse a faint guide in her hand. Behind them, the outpost collapses, a thunderous crash swallowing their trail, but the black ships linger, their hum a promise of pursuit. Marcus glances at Lyra, her golden eyes meeting his, a silent pact forged in the heat of betrayal and survival. They're in deeper now, pawns no longer, and the game is just beginning. The tunnel stretches on, a claustrophobic vein beneath Xerion 7's scarred surface, its walls slick with condensation and rusted pipes that groan under pressure. Marcus leads, his pistol a steady weight in his hand, his gray eyes scanning the gloom ahead. Lyra follows close, her luminescent markings casting a faint blue glow, the only light in this buried labyrinth. Her steps falter, her breath shallow, the wound in her side sapping her strength despite the stabilizer patch. The data crystal pulses in her grip, its rhythm erratic, a heartbeat of secrets they've yet to unravel. Above, the rumble of the collapsing outpost fades, replaced by an eerie quiet, broken only by the drip of water and the distant hum of pursuing ships. They're safe, for now, but Marcus knows it's a fleeting reprieve. The black ships won't stop, and whatever Consortium Helix is, it's bigger than a single raid. The tunnel widens into a cavern, its ceiling studded with jagged stalactites, its floor cluttered with abandoned mining gear, drills, cables, a cracked console flickering with residual power. Marcus holsters his pistol, moving to the console, its screen smeared with dust but functional. "This'll do," he mutters, pulling a decryption tool from his pack, a slim device wired for cracking alien tech. Lyra slumps against a crate, her golden eyes fixed on him, wary but resolute. She hands over the crystal, her fingers trembling slightly, silver blood staining her sleeve. "Be careful," she says, her voice low, melodic even in exhaustion. "It's not just data, it's a lockbox. Force it, and we lose everything." Marcus nods, slotting the crystal into the console, his hand steady as the decryption tool hums to life. The screen flickers, lines of Zentari script scrolling fast, interspersed with fragments of human code. Odd, disjointed, a puzzle that doesn't fit. Marcus frowns, his mind racing, piecing it together. Lyra leans in, her heat brushing his shoulder, her eyes narrowing as she decodes the alien text. "Consortium Helix," she murmurs, tracing a line of symbols. "It's a name, a group. Not Zentari, not human, something else." The decryption stutters, then stabilizes, pulling up a fragmented transmission. Audio first, a voice distorted but chillingly calm. Phase 1 complete. Obsidian Echo neutralized. Test subjects acquired. Human operative, Zentari asset. Proceed to Phase 2. The words hang heavy, a cold weight settling in Marcus's gut. Lyra's markings flare crimson, a sharp intake of breath betraying her shock. "Test subjects," she repeats, her voice tight. "They mean us." The screen shifts, revealing a partial schematic, a weapon, massive, its design a grotesque hybrid of Zentari energy conduits and human fusion tech. Marcus recognizes the specs, his mechanics instincts kicking in. "This isn't just a gun," he says, his tone hard. "It's a planet killer. Arion-powered, dual-phase, could wipe out fleets, colonies, anything." Lyra's eyes widen, her hand gripping the console's edge. "That's not Project Nexus," she says, her voice rising. "I built a countermeasure. Not this monstrosity." The data scrolls further, names flashing. Zentari scientists, human engineers, a list of collaborators tied to Consortium Helix. Marcus freezes, a name catching his eye. Dr. Elias Marrow. His breath catches, memories surging. Elias, his mentor, the man who pulled him from the wreckage of his childhood, who taught him everything before vanishing years ago. Lyra notices his reaction, her gaze sharpening. "You know someone on this list?" she says, not a question. Marcus clenches his jaw, the scar on his face tightening. "Elias Marrow. Human. Trained me, then disappeared. Alliance said he defected, died in a raid. Guess they lied. Lyra's expression hardens, her own recognition dawning as she scans the Zentari names. Kale Vorn, she mutters, her voice bitter. My supervisor at Obsidian Echo. He oversaw Nexus, pushed me to accelerate it. I thought he wanted peace. She trails off, the betrayal sinking in, her markings dimming to a dull blue. The truth unravels fast. Consortium Helix isn't a third species, but a secret alliance, a cabal of scientists from both sides, manipulating the war for their own ends. The console beeps, pulling up a manifesto fragment. Conflict drives evolution. The war must escalate. Humanity and Zentari must be forged anew or replaced. Helix will ensure survival through chaos. Marcus slams a fist against the console, the screen trembling. They're playing God, he growls, using us, all of us, as fuel for their twisted experiment. Lyra's hand tightens on the crystal, her voice steady despite the tremor in her frame. They built that weapon for my research. I thought I was stopping the war. I handed them the key. Guilt threads through her words, mirrored in Marcus's own unease. He's moved tech for the Alliance, shipments he never questioned, pieces that might have fed this madness. The cavern shakes, a low rumble vibrating through the stone, dust sifting from above. Marcus yanks the crystal free, the console sparking as it shuts down. They're tracking this, he says, pocketing it, his mind racing. We need to move, find a way off this planet, expose them. Lyra nods, pushing off the crate, her strength waning but her resolve unbroken. There's a relay station east of here, she says. Old Zentari outpost. Might have a transmitter. Marcus grabs her arm, steadying her as she sways, her heat pressing against him. A fleeting warmth that stirs something he can't name. Then we go, he says, his voice firm, gray eyes meeting her golden ones, a shared purpose binding them tighter. They retrace the tunnel, moving fast, the rumble growing louder, a sign of pursuit closing in. The air thickens, the weight of their discovery pressing down. Consortium Helix isn't just a threat, it's a betrayal of everything they've fought for. Marcus thinks of Elias, the man who shaped him, now a shadow pulling strings. Lyra wrestles with Kale's duplicity, her piece turned into a weapon of annihilation. The tunnel forks, and Lyra points east, her glow dim but steady, guiding them toward the relay station. Behind, the ground trembles, a mechanical whine echoing. Drones, ships, something hunting them through the dark. Marcus tightens his grip on his pistol, Lyra's energy weapon humming faintly in her hand. They're not just running from danger now. They're running toward a fight, one that could end the war or break it wide open. The crystal pulses in Marcus's pack, a ticking clock, its secrets a blade they'll wield together or die trying. The tunnel twists eastward, its damp walls narrowing as Marcus and Lyra press forward, the faint hum of pursuit lingering in the distance. Lyra's glow casts shifting shadows, her luminescent markings a dim blue, flickering with each labored step. Her strength ebbs, silver blood staining her side despite the stabilizer. But her golden eyes remain sharp, fixed on the path ahead. Marcus keeps pace beside her, his pistol drawn, his free hand hovering near her arm, ready to steady her if she falters. The data crystal pulses in his pack, a constant reminder of the stakes, its secrets driving them toward the relay station through this suffocating dark. The air grows colder, the tunnel sloping upward, and a faint draft brushes their faces, a sign they're close. The passage opens into a shallow chamber, its ceiling cracked, revealing slivers of Xerion 7's toxic sky. At its center stands the relay station, an old Zentari outpost, its walls pocked with rust, its transmitter tower leaning but intact. Marcus kicks through the debris-strewn entrance, his gray eyes scanning for threats, while Lyra moves to the control hub, her fingers tracing the dusty console. Still functional, she murmurs, her voice steady despite the exhaustion threading through it. She slots the data crystal into a port, the screen flickering to life, bathing her indigo skin in a soft glow. Marcus joins her, his shoulder brushing hers, a fleeting warmth that lingers as they watch the system boot up. The transmitter hums, a faint signal cutting through the planet's interference, enough to send a warning, if they can decode more of Helix's plans. Lyra's hands pause, her gaze drifting to Marcus, a question forming in her silence. He feels it, the weight of her scrutiny, and turns to meet her eyes, golden, piercing, searching. "What?" he asks, his tone gruff but not unkind. She hesitates, then speaks, her voice soft, almost fragile. "Back there, with the drone, you could have left me. Why didn't you?" Marcus shifts, the scar on his jaw tightening as memories stir. Ash screams, a boy too weak to save anyone. "I don't leave people behind," he says, his words clipped heavy. "Not anymore." Her markings flicker, a subtle shift to orange, and she nods, understanding more than he said. "I lost people too," she admits, her gaze dropping to the console. "My brother in the first raids. I joined intelligence to stop it, to make sure no one else lost what I did." The air thickens, a bridge forming between them, fragile but real. Marcus leans against the console, his voice quieter now. "My family, Zentari hit our colony. I was 16. Alliance picked up the pieces, turned me into this." He gestures vaguely at himself, a wry edge to his tone. Lyra's eyes lift, meeting his, a flicker of recognition passing between them. Two souls shaped by loss, wielded as weapons, now standing on the same side of a fight neither chose. "We're not so different," she says, a faint smile tugging at her lips, the first he's seen, and it catches him off guard, softening the hard lines of his face. The console beeps, pulling them back, a partial map flashing, coordinates tied to Consortium Helix, a facility off-world, buried in an asteroid belt. "We need to hit them there," Marcus says, his mind shifting to strategy. "Expose this, end it." Lyra nods, but her hand trembles as she adjusts the transmitter, her energy fading. Marcus notices, his brow furrowing. "You're tapped out," he says, stepping closer. "That energy trick you pulled, can you teach me? Might need it." Lyra's eyes widen, surprise flickering across her face, then narrow with calculation. "It's not a trick," she says, her voice firm. "It's us, Zentari. But maybe you can handle it." She steps back, gesturing for him to face her, her posture shifting to something deliberate, almost ritualistic. "It's about focus," she says, raising her hands, palms up. "Feel the energy here." She presses a hand to his chest, her touch light but searing, a current that jolts through him, quickening his pulse. Her markings flare, orange threading with red, a sign of her own reaction, quickly masked. Marcus stiffens, the heat of her skin bleeding through his suit, alien and intoxicating. "Breathe with it," she instructs, her voice low, guiding. "Match me." He mirrors her, inhaling deep, and feels it, a faint hum, a vibration threading from her touch, stirring something primal in his blood. Lyra's eyes lock on his, golden depths pulling him in, and the air crackles, a connection deeper than words. The hum grows, a ripple of energy pulsing between them, faint but real. Marcus's hands twitch, a spark flaring at his fingertips, and Lyra gasps, her markings blazing brighter, red overtaking orange. "You're doing it," she whispers, her voice catching, a mix of awe and something else, something dangerous. His breath hitches, the energy coiling tighter, binding them in a moment that teeters on the edge of control. Her hand lingers, the heat intensifying, and Marcus feels her thoughts brushing his. Not words, but fragments. Loss, hope, a flicker of longing she can't hide. He pulls back, breaking the link, the spark fading as he steadies himself, his chest tight. Lyra lowers her hand, her glow dimming, a flush of blue washing over her markings as she regains composure. "That's enough," he says, voice rough, turning back to the console, though the echo of her touch lingers. Lyra nods, silent, her own breath uneven, the unspoken tension hanging heavy. The transmitter locks onto the signal, a burst of encrypted data ready to send, if they can survive long enough to use it. Marcus adjusts his pack. The antimatter charges a cold counterpoint to the heat still simmering in his veins. "We got a target," he says, his tone clipped, refocusing. "Let's move." Lyra straightens, her strength bolstered by the exchange, her golden eyes meeting his with a new resolve. "Together," she says, the word a promise, a thread tying them closer as the relay station hums around them. Outside, the wind howls, carrying the faint whine of approaching drones, a reminder of the hunt closing in. Marcus grabs his pistol, Lyra's energy weapon glowing faintly in her grip, and they step into the storm, the connection between them a fragile lifeline in the chaos. They're not just allies now. Something deeper stirs, a bond forged in shared pain and fleeting fire, one that could save them or unravel them entirely as they face the shadows ahead. The relay station trembles as Marcus and Lyra step into Zirian 7's howling wind, the transmitter's signal pulsing faintly behind them, a fragile lifeline to the galaxy beyond. The air bites with dust and toxin, the horizon darkening as black ships circle like vultures, their engines a low growl cutting through the storm. Marcus grips his pistol, his gray eyes narrowing against the grit, while Lyra steadies her energy weapon, its faint hum a match to her glowing markings, blue now, but edged with crimson urgency. The coordinates from Consortium Helix burn in their minds. An asteroid facility, a target to strike, but first they need off this rock. The shuttle waits, battered but operational, 100 meters across the open waste, its hull glinting faintly under the toxic sky. Between them and it, drones whine, their red sensors sweeping the ground, a mechanical pack hunting in unison. Marcus signals Lyra with a sharp nod, and they break into a sprint, boots pounding the cracked earth. The drones lock on fast, their drills spinning as they surge forward, metal claws tearing at the dirt. Marcus fires, shots sparking off their armor, slowing one as it staggers, while Lyra unleashes an energy blast, her markings flaring as the pulse rips through another, scattering it into shards. The air cracks with heat and noise, the wind whipping their faces, but the shuttle looms closer, a beacon in the chaos. A drone lunges, its drill slashing toward Marcus, and he rolls, the blade gouging the ground inches from his head. Lyra pivots, her weapon flashing, and the drone collapses, its circuits frying in a burst of light. She grabs his arm, pulling him up, her touch a jolt of warmth through his suit, her golden eyes fierce. "Keep moving," she snaps, and they push on, the shuttle's hatch now in reach. They dive inside, Marcus slamming the controls to seal the hatch as Lyra powers the engines, the craft lurching awake with a groan. Drones swarm the hull, their drills screeching against metal, but Marcus throws the throttle, lifting off in a cloud of dust. The black ships dive, their weapons blazing, violet streaks searing past as he banks hard, weaving through the storm. Lyra's hands fly over the co-pilot's console, boosting the shields, her energy senses guiding his turns with a precision that saves them from a dozen near hits. The shuttle shudders, a direct strike blackening its flank, but they break free, clawing into orbit, Zirian 7's crimson scars shrinking below. Marcus exhales, tension easing for a fleeting second, until the comms crackle, a human signal, faint but clear, cutting through the static. "Marcus, you copy?" The voice is rough, familiar, a ghost from his past. He freezes, gray eyes narrowing as he keys the comms. Tanner Voss, Alliance pilot, old friend, a man Marcus hasn't seen since a botched op 3 years back, presumed dead in his Zentari ambush. "Yeah, it's me," Tanner replies, his tone clipped. "So your shuttle signal. Thought you were a goner down there. I'm in orbit, got a transport. Dock with me, quick." Marcus glances at Lyra, her golden eyes wary, her hand hovering near her weapon. You trust him? She mutters, suspicion threading her voice. Marcus hesitates, memories flashing. Tanner pulling him from a burning wreck, sharing rations on a frozen moon. Used to, he says, voice low. Let's find out. They adjust course, the shuttle limping toward a sleek Alliance transport orbiting high, its hull patched but sturdy. The black ships hang back, their pursuit stalling, a move that prickles Marcus's instincts. The docking clamps lock with a thud, and they board, stepping into a dimly lit bay. Tanner waits, lean and weathered, his dark hair streaked with gray, his uniform worn but Alliance stamped. He grins, a crooked smile that doesn't reach his eyes. Hell of a reunion, Kane, he says, clapping Marcus's shoulder. His gaze shifts to Lyra, hardening. And you brought company. Marcus steps between them, his tone steady. She's with me. Save my ass down there. Tanner nods, slow, his eyes flicking to the data crystal in Lyra's hand. Good to know. Come on, got a briefing room. You'll want to hear this. The briefing room is cramped, a hollow table flickering with static as Tanner boots it up. Lyra stands close to Marcus, her heat a subtle presence, her markings dim but watchful. Tanner pulls up a star map, pointing to the asteroid belt from Helix's coordinates. Picked up chatter after Obsidian Echo went down, he says, his voice rough. Something big's brewing, off-world base, heavy tech. You got intel, I've got a ship. We hit it together, expose whatever's cooking. Marcus nods, relief easing his guard. Tanner's alive, offering a way forward. Lyra leans in, studying the map, her voice sharp. That matches the data, Consortium Helix. They're behind the attack. Tanner's eyes flicker, a shadow crossing his face, but he covers it with a grunt. Then we move fast. Prep the jump, coordinates locked. The transport hums, engines warming for a hyperspace leap, and Marcus follows Tanner to the cockpit, Lyra trailing, her steps silent but tense. The asteroid belt looms in the viewport, a jagged ring of rock and shadow, and Marcus feels the old rhythm of a mission kicking in, focus, precision, trust in the man beside him. But Lyra's hand brushes his arm, a warning in her touch, her energy senses flaring. Something's wrong, she whispers, her markings shifting to crimson. Before Marcus can respond, the cockpit door seals, a hiss of locks snapping shut, and Tanner spins, a pistol in his hand, aimed at Marcus's chest. Sorry, Kane, he says, his voice cold. You're too good at this game. Had to bring you in. The air freezes, betrayal cutting sharper than any blade. Marcus's hand twitches toward his weapon, but Tanner's faster, his shot grazing Marcus's shoulder, a burn that drops him to one knee. Lyra moves, her energy weapon flashing, but Tanner ducks, firing again, a blast that clips her leg, sending her crashing against the wall, silver blood pooling. Helix pays better than the Alliance. Tanner snarls, stepping back as the transport lurches into hyperspace, the stars blurring outside. You're their prize, both of you. Marcus lunges, pain searing his arm, tackling Tanner against the console, fists flying. The cockpit shakes, controls sparking as they grapple, Tanner's strength fueled by desperation, Marcus's by rage. Lyra rises, her markings blazing, and channels her energy, a pulse that slams Tanner back, pinning him to the wall. Marcus grabs his pistol, pressing it to Tanner's temple, his breath ragged. Why? He growls, the scar on his jaw taut with fury. Tanner laughs, a broken sound. Evolution, Kane. Helix wants the war bigger, stronger species, stronger weapons. You're the test. Lyra staggers forward, her voice cutting through. The Consortium, they've got Elias, Kale, all of them. Tanner's eyes flicker, confirming it, and Marcus tightens his grip, the betrayal a wound deeper than the burn. The transport drops out of hyperspace, an asteroid base looming. Massive, bristling with turrets, Helix's heart. Alarms blare, docking clamps engaging, and Tanner twists free, slamming a panel that floods the cockpit with gas, a choking haze. Marcus fires, the shot wild, and Tanner bolts, vanishing into the ship as the gas bites their lungs. Lyra grabs Marcus, her strength fading, pulling him toward an access hatch. We fight, she gasps, her golden eyes locked on his, a fire that defies the dark. They stumble through, sealing it behind them, the base's shadow swallowing the viewport. Trapped, wounded, betrayed, they brace against the wall, the data crystal pulsing in Marcus's hand, their bond the only weapon left as Helix closes in. The access hatch seals behind Marcus and Lyra with a hiss, locking out the choking gas that fills the cockpit of Tanner's transport. They stumble into a narrow maintenance corridor within the Consortium Helix asteroid base, its walls a cold lattice of steel and pulsing conduits, the air thick with the hum of machinery. Marcus steadies Lyra, her silver blood slick on his arm from the graze on her leg, her markings dim and flickering blue, a sign of her waning strength. His shoulder burns from Tanner's shot, a dull ache pulsing with every move, but his gray eyes are sharp, scanning the shadows for an edge. The data crystal glows faintly in his hand, its secrets their only leverage in this trap. Footsteps echo ahead, Helix guards closing in, and Marcus knows they're out of time. Lyra pulls free, her golden eyes flashing with resolve as she grips her energy weapon, its barrel humming faintly. "We can't run forever," she says, her voice steady despite the tremor in her frame. "We end this here." Marcus nods, his jaw tight, the weight of betrayal fueling his focus. "Then we hit them hard, find their core, blow it, get out." He checks his pack. The antimatter charge is still intact, a last resort from his original mission. Lyra's gaze lingers on him, a silent pact threading between them, and they move, slipping deeper into the base, two shadows against an army. The corridor opens into a vast chamber, its ceiling lost in darkness, its floor dominated by a towering reactor. Helix's heart, a monstrous fusion of Zentari energy coils and human tech, pulsing with Arion's raw power. Guards patrol its perimeter, black-armored figures wielding hybrid rifles, their movements precise, mechanical. Marcus spots a control hub 50 meters across, elevated on a platform, its screens flickering with data, the key to shutting this down. Lyra's energy senses flare, picking up the reactor's rhythm, and she points to a conduit snaking along the wall. "Overload that," she whispers, and the whole thing collapses. Marcus nods, a plan snapping into place. "You take the hub. I'll rig the charges." They split, Marcus darting low along the wall, his stealth suit blending into the shadows as he skirts the guards. Lyra moves opposite, her markings dimming to near invisible, her steps silent despite her wounds. A guard turns, his rifle snapping up, but Marcus is faster, a silent shot dropping him soundlessly. Lyra reaches the platform, vaulting onto it with a wince, her energy weapon flashing to fry the hub's lock. Alarms blare, red lights strobing as guards converge, their shouts drowned by the reactor's roar. Marcus slams the first charge against the conduit, its timer blinking to life. 5 minutes, and sprints to the next, bullets pinging off the walls around him. Lyra's hands fly over the controls, her markings flaring crimson as she channels her energy into the system, overriding its defenses. The reactor groans, its coils sparking, a warning of instability. A guard lunges at her, rifle raised, but she twists, her weapon pulsing, sending him crashing off the platform in a heap. Marcus plants the second charge, his breath ragged, the burn in his shoulders screaming as he dodges a barrage of fire. "Lyra, now!" he yells, and she slams the console, a surge of energy ripping through the reactor, its hum pitching into a shriek. The guards falter, their formation breaking as the chamber shakes, debris raining from above. But the fight's not over. A hatch bursts open, and Tanner strides in, flanked by Helix enforcers, his pistol gleaming under the strobing lights. "You're stubborn, Kane," he calls, his voice cutting through the chaos. "But this ends here." Marcus dives behind a crate, returning fire, shots sparking off Tanner's armor. Lyra leaps from the platform, landing hard, her energy blast scattering the enforcers, silver blood trailing from her leg. Tanner pivots, his shot clipping Marcus's side, a sharp sting that draws a grunt. But Marcus rolls, closing the gap, tackling Tanner into a brutal grapple. Fists collide, metal clangs, and Tanner's strength pushes back, fueled by Helix's promises. Lyra staggers forward, her markings blazing, and channels a pulse, not at Tanner, but the reactor, amplifying its overload. The chamber quakes, conduits bursting, flames licking the walls as the countdown ticks. 3 minutes. Marcus head butts Tanner, breaking free, and Lyra grabs his arm, pulling him toward an exit hatch as the enforcers regroup. Tanner rises, bloodied but grinning, and fires, the shot grazing Lyra's shoulder, her gasp sharp as she stumbles. Marcus catches her, his arm around her waist, her heat flooding through him, a lifeline in the chaos. "Go," she urges, and they plunge through the hatch, sealing it as the reactor's wail peaks. The corridor beyond trembles, the base unraveling as they run, flames licking at their heels. Marcus's HUD flickers, mapping an escape bay ahead. Helix shuttles, their only shot. The countdown hits 1 minute. The charge's beeps echoing in his ears. They burst into the bay, a sleek shuttle waiting, and Marcus shoves Lyra inside, diving for the controls. The engines roar, the craft lifting as the chamber behind them erupts. A fireball swallowing Tanner and the enforcers in a deafening blast. The asteroid cracks, its surface splitting as Marcus punches the throttle, the shuttle rocketing free, debris pelting its hull. They breach the asteroid belt, the base's ruin a fading glow in the viewport, silence settling over the cockpit. Marcus slumps in the pilot's seat, blood seeping from his side, his breath ragged but steady. Lyra leans against the console, her markings dim, silver blood staining her arm and leg, but her golden eyes meet his, fierce and unbroken. "We did it," she says, her voice soft, a thread of relief weaving through it. Marcus nods, a faint smirk tugging at his lips. "Yeah, blew their game to hell." The data crystallized between them, its glow steady now, a key to unraveling Helix's remnants, if any survive. The shuttle drifts, its systems stabilizing, but the quiet feels fragile, the weight of their victory tempered by what's lost. Marcus glances at Lyra, her presence a tether in the void, and feels the shift, a bond forged in fire, stronger than the war that birthed it. They've won this battle, but Helix's shadow lingers, a whisper of threats still lurking in the stars. For now, they breathe, battered but alive, the galaxy stretching before them, uncertain but theirs to face. The shuttle drifts silently through the asteroid belt, its hull scarred and dented, a lone speck against the vastness of space. Inside, the cockpit hums with the faint rhythm of strained systems, the glow of the data crystal casting soft light across the console. Marcus slumps in the pilot's seat, his hand pressed to the wound in his side, blood seeping through his fingers, a steady ache pulsing with each breath. Lyra sits beside him, her indigo skin streaked with silver blood, her markings dim and flickering blue, exhaustion etched into every line of her frame. The adrenaline of their escape fades, leaving a quiet heavy with the weight of what they've done. Helix's base in ruins, Tanner gone, a victory carved from betrayal and fire. Yet, the silence between them feels alive, threaded with something unspoken, a bond tempered in the chaos they've survived. Lyra shifts, wincing as she adjusts her wounded leg, her golden eyes drifting to Marcus. "You're a mess," she says, her voice soft, a faint melody cutting through the stillness. He glances at her, a wry smirk tugging at his lips despite the pain. "Look who's talking," he replies, nodding at the silver stains on her arm and thigh. She huffs a small laugh, the sound unexpected, fragile, and it eases the tension coiling in his chest. He reaches for the medical kit, pulling out a bandage, but his hands tremble, the burn in his shoulder stealing his strength. Lyra leans forward, taking it from him, her fingers brushing his, a warmth that lingers as she presses the bandage to his side. "Hold still," she murmurs, her touch steady, precise, and Marcus feels the heat of her skin, a quiet pulse that stirs his pulse despite the ache. Their eyes meet, gray locking with gold, and the air shifts, a current running deeper than words. Back there, Marcus says, his voice low, rough, "You could have left me with Tanner. Why didn't you?" Lyra pauses, her hand still against his side, her markings flickering orange for a fleeting moment. "Because you didn't leave me," she says simply, her gaze unwavering. "In the station, the outpost, every time you stayed. I don't forget that." Her words hang between them, a confession wrapped in gratitude, and Marcus feels a crack in the wall he's built, a flicker of something he hasn't let himself name. "Guess we're even, then," he mutters, but the weight in his tone says more, a bridge spanning the divide of species and war. Lyra pulls back, settling into her seat, her fingers tracing the data crystal's edge. "This," she says, lifting it, "it's not just Helix's plans. It's proof Kale Elias, the others, they twisted our work, our people. We can use it." Marcus nods, his mind sharpening despite the haze of pain. Alliance needs to see it. Zentari too. In this shadow game, force the truth out. Lyra's markings brighten, a soft aquamarine threading through the blue, a sign of hope flickering to life. "Peace," she says, the word tentative, almost reverent. "It's what I wanted, why I built Nexus. Not this chaos." Marcus leans back, his gaze drifting to the stars beyond the viewport. "I stopped believing in peace a long time ago," he admits, his voice quieter now. "But maybe it's worth a shot." The shuttle's comms crackle, a faint signal breaking through, a Zentari frequency, distorted but growing clearer. Lyra adjusts the controls, her fingers deft, and a voice emerges, sharp and commanding. "This is Commander Zuravane, Zentari Dominion. Identify yourself." Lyra stiffens, her markings flaring briefly crimson, then steadying. "Zara," she whispers, a mix of relief and dread threading her tone. She keys the comms, her voice firm. "This is Lyra Vane, intelligence operative. I'm with a human, Marcus Kane, Alliance. We've destroyed a consortium Helix facility and have critical data. Requesting rendezvous." Silence stretches, taut and heavy. Then Zara's voice returns, edged with suspicion. "A human? Explain, Lyra." Marcus cuts in, his tone hard but clear. "Helix played us both, your people, mine. We've got proof. You want this war to stop, you'll listen." The line crackles, tension bleeding through, until Zara speaks again, her voice measured. "Coordinates incoming. Stand by." The comms cut, and a set of coordinates blinks on the screen, a neutral zone, a meeting point. Lyra exhales, her shoulders easing, and Marcus adjusts the shuttle's course, the engines whining as they shift trajectory. "Your commander," he says, glancing at her. "She your sister?" Lyra nods, a faint smile tugging at her lips. "Older. Stubborn. She'll hate you on sight." Marcus smirks, a dry edge to it. "Good thing I'm used to that." The shuttle steadies, its path set, and the quiet returns, softer now, a space where words aren't needed. Lyra's hand rests on the console, close to his, and Marcus feels the pull, a connection forged in loss, in trust, in the fire of shared survival. "Whatever happens," she says, her voice low, "we face it together." He meets her gaze, gray eyes softening, and nods. "Together," he echoes, the word a vow, a tether stronger than the war that once divided them. The stars stretch ahead, vast and uncertain, but for the first time, Marcus sees more than ash in his future, and Lyra, more than a dream lost to chaos. The shuttle hums toward the rendezvous, carrying not just survivors, but a fragile hope for something greater. The shuttle hums through the void, its engines straining as it cuts toward the neutral zone coordinates Zara provided. A desolate moon orbiting a gas giant, its surface a patchwork of gray craters and faint energy signatures. Marcus grips the controls, his side throbbing beneath the bandage Lyra applied, his gray eyes fixed on the approaching moon through the viewport. Lyra sits beside him, her golden gaze steady on the data crystal, its glow pulsing faintly in her hand, a beacon of truth they've fought to protect. The silence between them is charged, a fragile calm before the storm, their bond a quiet strength holding steady against the uncertainty ahead. The comms crackle intermittently, Zara's signal growing stronger, but Marcus's instincts prickle. Something feels off, a tension threading through the stars. The moon looms closer, its surface dotted with Centauri ships, sleek, angular vessels, their hulls shimmering with energy fields, a stark contrast to the battered Alliance transport that emerges from the shadows. Marcus adjusts course, docking protocols syncing, and the shuttle clamps onto a Centauri platform with a dull thud. Lyra straightens, her markings flickering blue with resolve, though a hint of crimson betrays her unease. Zara's here, she says, her voice low, but she won't trust easily. Marcus nods, holstering his pistol, the antimatter charges left behind in the shuttle. A gesture of intent, not surrender. We've got the data, he says, meeting her eyes. That's what matters. They step onto the platform, the air cold and thin, a faint hum vibrating through the metal beneath their boots. Zara waits ahead, flanked by Centauri guards, her indigo skin marked with intricate patterns, her golden eyes, strikingly like Lyra's, narrowed with suspicion. She's taller, her presence commanding, her energy weapon resting casually at her side. Lyra, she says, her voice sharp, melodic, you bring a human into our space. Explain now. Lyra steps forward, the crystal raised, its glow casting light across her face. Consortium Helix, a cabal of our own and his. They fueled this war, built weapons for my research, betrayed us both. This proves it. Zara's gaze shifts to Marcus, hard and unyielding. And you, Alliance? Why should I believe you? Before Marcus can answer, the platform shakes, a low rumble rippling through the moon. The comms flare, a human voice cutting in, Alliance, urgent, panicked. Kane, it's Captain Reza. Helix isn't done. They've got a failsafe, energy surge, moon's core, rigged to blow. The words hit like a punch, and Marcus spins, his HUD flashing warnings as the ground trembles harder. Lyra's energy senses flare, her markings blazing crimson, and she points to a crater's edge. There, reactor signature buried deep. They're still here. Zara's guards snap to attention, but she hesitates, her eyes locked on Marcus, weighing trust against decades of war. There's no time. Marcus snaps, his voice cutting through. Helix wants us all dead. Your people, mine. We stop it, or we're ash. Zara's jaw tightens, then she nods, a sharp gesture to her guards. Move. The trio, Marcus, Lyra, Zara, sprint toward the crater, a makeshift alliance forged in the heat of necessity. The ground splits as they near, a Helix drone erupting from the dust, its sensors glowing red, its energy cannon whirring to life. Marcus fires, shots sparking off its hull, while Lyra and Zara unleash twin pulses, their markings flaring in sync, a dazzling burst that shatters the drone into fragments. The crater yawns below, a shaft plunging to a glowing reactor. Aerion-powered, unstable, a ticking bomb. They rappel down, ropes biting into their hands, the heat rising as they descend. The reactor looms, a chaotic fusion of tech, its coils sparking wildly, a countdown pulsing on a cracked screen. 3 minutes. Marcus scans it, his mechanic's mind racing, spotting a manual override. I can shut it down, he says, diving for the controls, his wounded shoulder screaming as he works. Lyra moves beside him, her energy senses guiding his hands, her voice steady. Here, cut the flow. Zara guards the shaft, her weapon flashing as more drones swarm, her command sharp over the roar. Hold them, she yells to her guards, energy blasts lighting the dark. Marcus's fingers fly, rerouting circuits, Lyra's heat pressing close as she channels a pulse into the system, stabilizing it. The countdown slows, 2 minutes, 1, then freezes, the reactor's hum dropping to a dull whine. The drones falter, their power cut, and Zara's guards finish them, silence falling heavy as the threat fades. Marcus slumps against the console, breath ragged, blood seeping anew, while Lyra leans into him, her markings dimming to blue, her hand resting on his arm, a quiet anchor. Zara steps forward, her gaze shifting between them, suspicion giving way to something else, respect, tentative but real. The comms crackle again, Ray's voice breaking through. Kane, you alive? Helix signals dead, Moon's stable. What the hell happened? Marcus keys the comms, his tone dry. Stop the bomb. Got a Zentari commander here. Talk to her. He handed it to Zara, who takes it, her voice firm. This is Zara Vane, Dominion. Your Helix betrayed us both. We have proof. Stand down, or we finish this the hard way. Reza hesitates, then replies, Copy. Standing by. The line cuts, a fragile truce hanging in the air. They climb back to the platform. The moon's surface still beneath their feet, the stars sprawling above. Zara faces them, her golden eyes softer now, a nod to Lyra. You were right, she says, her voice low. This changes everything. Lyra smiles faintly, exhaustion mingling with hope, and turns to Marcus, her hand brushing his, a warmth that steadies him. We did it, she says, her tone carrying the weight of their journey. From enemies to this, a shared victory etched in blood and trust. Marcus looks at her, gray eyes meeting gold, and feels the shift. A war's end, a new beginning, uncertain but theirs. Yeah, he says, his voice rough, a smirk tugging at his lips. Guess peace isn't such a bad deal. Zara steps aside, signaling her ships, and the Alliance transport hovers closer, a bridge forming where none existed before. The data crystal glows between them, its secrets a promise, to expose Helix, to heal the rift, to carve a future from the ashes. They board the shuttle, side by side, battered but unbroken, the galaxy stretching ahead, vast and open. The war fades, not gone but quieter, and in its place, something grows. A bond, a hope, a chance for two species to mend what was torn apart.